In the meantime, Meghan Markle's latest podcast launch has been charmingly described as stomach turning after she received scathing criticism over her narcissistic Netflix series. Let me ask you, are Meghan's Hollywood dreams crumbling? Let me know in the comments below. While she did manage to chart in the top 10 in the US and Canada, I should stress below everywhere else, it's a far cry from her Joe Rogan domination. And I just want to state for the record that I predicted that. I said there's going to be no Joe Rogan, no return of Meghan Markle dominating the charts and taking that top spot away from Joe Rogan. The reviews for Confessions of a Female Founder are in, and if Meghan Googles herself as much as we know she does, she will not be happy with them. Critically and socially, Markle's podcast has been met with a less than stellar reception, earning only 2 stars from outlets like the Telegraph, Standard, and the Guardian. And actually today, I wish I could remember what paper it was, but I saw a 1 star, which is pretty bad. One major criticism was that listeners anticipated insightful advice from Meghan's guest, Bumble founder Whitney Wolfe Herd, but instead, the conversation frequently shifted back to Meghan's own experiences, offering little of the expected wisdom. Critic Chris Binion slammed the show for its lack of depth, arguing, imagine the drive, the talent, the decisions, and sheer bloody ruthlessness it must take to achieve what she, Whitney, has. We get none of it. In this perfumed echo chamber, the best we get is a sense that Wolford didn't love school and that she wishes she hadn't worked so hard. Critic Rachel RSD from The Guardian criticized the show as sycophantic and stomach-turning, saying it's hardly a manual of specific constructive business advice. It's simply an effusive chinwag between 2 like-minded pals that may as well have taken place behind a deluxe set of closed doors.
Okay, let's talk about Meghan Markle's podcast disaster. Her new show, Confessions of a Female Founder, was hyped as a deep, empowering platform for female entrepreneurs. What did we get instead? A glorified self-help monologue starring Meghan. Critics across the board have torched it. The Telegraph, The Guardian, The Standard, all gave it brutal reviews. One critic even called it psychophantic and stomach-turning. Another said the podcast was an echo chamber where the guest barely speaks, and the host, surprise, it's Meghan, won't stop talking about herself. Seriously. When your guest is the founder of Bumble, people want business strategy, funding advice, leadership tips. Instead, they got another royal therapy session. The YouTube crowd didn't hold back either. Here are a few gems Kinsey shared. It's so ironic the bully Meghan is now speaking about being bullied. She interviews people just to talk about herself. Return to Centibale. That was a story. She thinks she's Cher Mayaflop. And then there's The Voice.
India Block from The Standard argued that Meghan's podcast style seemed outdated and too focused on her own experiences rather than offering valuable insight. Meanwhile, The Express said the episode veered too far away from meaningful conversations and focused too much on casual chats and superficial topics. Many critics agreed the podcast lacked substance and failed to deliver, valuable business strategies. But YouTube commentators were a little more blunt. One writes, it's so ironic that the bully Meghan Markle is speaking about being bullied. She is one of the least credible women on the planet, and there is so much evidence on the internet to prove it. Another says, Confessions of a Female Founder appears to be yet another strategic vehicle for Meghan Markle to surround herself with paid compliments celebrating her beauty, strength, and uniqueness, as though that alone were a masterclass in entrepreneurship. Anyone tuning in expecting genuine insight into building a business, such as funding, team building, market strategy, or even a sliver of practical advice will be sorely disappointed. But then again, why would such details matter when the spotlight is on 2 privileged women who either inherited their path or married their way into them? Let's be honest, there's no real struggle here, no real story, just glossy self-promotion wrapped in elite detachment. The result? something entirely unrelatable, uninspiring, and frankly, quite tedious. Should I just drop the mic? Should I just slam my laptop down like Prince Philip and storm out? Because that's the quote. That's the comment. Similar, this commenter says, Meghan has people on her show to interview her. While one user suggests, return to the Senabale case. Yeah, we get you. That is a much bigger story, isn't it? One commentator joked, podcast should be called Confessions of a Narcissistic Hypochondriac. Another joked, why is she always whispering? Is she afraid she's going to lose her voice again? Speaking of her voice, we got a lot of comments on her voice, by the way. One user says, this voice, so dramatic, so exaggerating, so heavy and burdened, and most of all, so incredibly ridiculous. Another user says, interesting how she didn't seem to have the same mentality back in the UK to rise above. She certainly gets more criticism now than back then. Straight to the point, this comment says, so fake and boring.
Apparently, Meghan now whispers everything, like she's recording ASMR for royal trauma. Comments called it overdramatic, exaggerated, fake, and straight-up unbearable. Kinsey and Rupert Bell nailed it. Meghan still hasn't learned how to interview. Season 2 of Archetypes had the same problem. The guest is supposed to shine, but Meghan steals the spotlight every time. And let's be real. There's no struggle here. This podcast is elite detachment wrapped in glossy privilege. Critics said it best. There's no substance, no structure, no soul. Just recycled self-promotion. That comment says it all. Stop. The public is done. This isn't just criticism, it's fatigue. We've heard Meghan's story. She was silenced. Then she wasn't. She was unsupported. Then she was. The royal family ignored her. Then they didn't. It's an emotional boomerang that people are now actively rejecting. What started as a brand of empowerment has now become a platform for performative victimhood. And audiences, even progressive ones, aren't buying it anymore.
Another comment focuses on Meghan's history with exaggerating, saying everything is life and death, facepalm emoji. This commenter agrees. She had it all, done it all. Everything happened to her. Her tone is so exaggerated, sing-song tone so fake, with another user replying, old gal trying too hard. Here's a comment that says, yuck, playing the victim card again. It's relentless. With a reply that says, right, spare me. Now she thinks she's Cher. Megaflop can't keep track of her copious lies. Another exchange reads, the biggest bully playing victim, with a user agreeing, great comment, the original poster, then commenting under that, had it with these two, can't wait to see their titles removed. This comment we can all probably get behind. It just says, make it stop. Make it stop. Have you seen any reviews you want us to discuss or highlight? Let me know in the comments below. I would say that if you listen to Rupert Bell and I talk on Heirs and Spares or Royally Unfiltered, he has said on multiple occasions, and I completely agree with him, except he tends to hit it home more than I do because I did not do a lot of investing in the Archetypes podcast. But he did, especially with the Serena Williams episode, because he wanted to hear about Serena Williams. And he has said throughout the hype around the Limonada podcast, Meghan's got to become a better interviewer. Meghan's got to learn how to focus the attention on the subject, on the guest, and not try to hijack that for herself. And clearly she has not learned that lesson here. But why would she when her publicist bent over backwards to get her a bunch of plastic trophies that are probably sitting in her office right now, that when Lily wakes up from her naps, she gets to come in and admire mom's trophies in the office. So I do think that that's a lesson she clearly hasn't had a chance to learn. It was also one of the arguments that critics suggested in With Love, Meghan, like, why don't you ask the people you're talking to anything about themselves? It's all about you and your frozen TV dinners. Unfortunately for season 2, we believe that that's already wrapped and it's already been recorded. I imagine that a significant amount of this podcast has already been reported too, based on the way that she works. But I do think that if she wants this to be her future, she's got to become better at it's called How to Win Friends and Influence People, girlfriend. I will send you a copy of Dale Carnegie. Okay. It's as simple as that. I mean, and a lot of these people are tuning in to hear about the other person because Meghan's just not that interesting. Okay. I said to Jeremy Kyle this week, I was like, we do not give Buckingham Palace and Kensington Palace enough credit for how likable they made these two people seem, Harry and Meghan. They are so unlike the people that were working under the British royal umbrella back in 2017, 2018. They're not like those people at all. 2019 even. I don't think they're very nice, and I don't think they're very interesting.
Here's the hard truth that no PR team wants to hear. Meghan Markle post-royal is just not that interesting. As Kinsey puts it, we underestimated how much Buckingham Palace elevated their image. Without the titles, the tiaras, the drama, what are we left with? A mediocre interviewer chasing Joe Rogan's chart positions. And spoiler, she's not coming close. Meghan Markle set out to become a media mogul, a feminist icon, a voice for the voiceless. But based on this podcast reception, it's looking more like a cautionary tale of narcissism, missed potential, and media overexposure. If she wants to salvage her brand, it's simple. Listen more. Talk less. Stop chasing awards and start chasing value. Until then, make it stop. That's it for today's Royal Media Roast. If you survived that echo chamber, hit like, smash subscribe, and comment below. Is Meghan's podcast the worst rebrand in recent memory? Or is she still being unfairly judged by the press?